Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmic Oracle Show. We are live. I'm kind of setting things up a little bit early today, right now. Let's see, yeah. With Brad Olsen. So, yeah, so come check us out. Check it out. Come on in. I'm waiting for Brad to come. He should be here any minute. And it should all be happening here. So I'm excited to have him on the show and welcome here. I don't think there's any way we can chat or do anything like that. But pre-show, the Cosmic Oracle Show, we're on our 6th year this year. Started on Tuesday nights and now it's on every Friday night. But I will be having Brad Olsen joining us here any minute, and then we'll be going live onto Revolution Radio as well. And I'm also looking for a technical person to help me produce the show. If you're interested, we're an all volunteer show, so no one gets paid for it. But if you would like to help me with all the technical issues and getting us cleared, that would just be fantastic. I'm not so good with the technical so much, but I'm okay with it. But I'd rather have someone handle the technical side for me so that I can do the interview part, because that's the part I really love to do. So we're waiting for Brad Olsen. He should be here any minute, and we're going to just have so much fun with him. I'm excited about it. And so yeah. So it's Friday. Hang in there. We're almost to go live on Revolution Radio, and we will have my friend Brad Olsen coming live on the show with his latest book, Beyond Esoteric, Escaping the Prison Planet. So we'll be talking to him live in just a few moments, and wondering how your weekend's going, how your week's going, and how things are going for you generally in life. I've been having a good time myself. I love it in my new place. I actually started working out, believe it or not, because I want to be the best version of myself, and I have some things to work on, right? Not that we have to be perfect or anything, but I definitely have some things to work on. And for me, I'm working out again. And so today was my 5th day, and my body's really feeling it, and it's kind of going on a little bit of battle, like, what the heck are you doing? And so but I'm going to hang in with it. I've made a commitment to it. I'm going to go through it and see the other side of this. So if any of you are working on losing weight, that COVID-19 that we put on, it's time to power up and take it back, right? Or take it off, shall we say, and get back in motion again and get action going. And for me, I'm built for comfort, not for speed. So it's always been a little bit of a push for me to get a sweat going. So I don't like it. So I wish I did, but it's always been a struggle for me to do any kind of exercise. I'm just not made that way. I'm much more comfortable sitting in front of a computer and writing a book. I am working on my 4th book right now. So it's Ambassador for the Light. It's coming along really beautifully. If you haven't read my other books, they're available on Amazon. I have Dying for the Light, which talks about my near-death experience in 1989, December 4th, that kind of catapulted me into this whole subject of extraterrestrials, UFOs, and anything beyond the 5th dimension. So I've world traveled and went to many sacred spots on the planet all over the world, and met amazing masters and teachers and had initiations and that sort of thing, and just had an extraordinary life so far. But hey, I'm going to be 69 this year, and I'm just getting started. I met 2 amazing women, Z Budapest, check her out, and Tila Lamar. And Tila is a world-class astrologist, and Z Budapest is an amazing, amazing tarot reader and a feminist, a breaker of some of these chains that are on the planet. And so is Tila. And I'm going to be having them on the show the next months out. So I can't wait for you to meet them. They're 89 years old and they are still rocking it. Okay. They are making things happen, and they're helping change other people's lives for the better. And we're so fortunate to have these two wonderful women with so much wisdom come to the table and share their thoughts with us, from all sorts of things, from ecology to the feminist movement, and to what's happening in our world today, where people are taking more action. And maybe the sheeple, maybe we need to change that name. I know there's a lot of work to do still, but I always have the best hope for mankind. I haven't lost hope for humanity yet. Hey, I almost did a few times, okay? When I went down that rabbit hole, I just said, there's no hope for humanity, okay? Forget about it. But I know we've all been there too. So this is kind of my rant for the day, I guess, talking about what's going on in the world. Did you check out Mars landing yesterday with NASA? That was a big thing on the table for sure. And I usually do a card for the group as well. So let's see if we can pull a card for today's show. It'll be good. This is my favorite deck. I've had it for years and years. I had it right when it came out, the Druid Craft Tarot. You can see all my lines, and I just post it so I don't forget things, so I can teach classes at my esoteric university, which I do. I just finished teaching a protection class, so I was really excited about that. We worked on different forms of protection, and from all over the world, there's different, well, these cards just keep wanting to pop out. All sorts of different forms of mantras, and all sorts of things that you can take back your power and power up and help dispel evil. All right. Yeah, we're really powerful, amazing human beings, and we can take back our power and create and manifest in this world quite easily. We're made to do that. So we just forgot, you get conditioned and you get kind of pushed down, and then you have to pull back up and look around and start all over again. But hopefully you learn a few things, and you meet some teachers or some healers that they've been right where you're at, and they can help you. So if you're going through some stuff right now in your life, don't stay isolated and alone. Okay, go out and really find someone to help you. We're all out there, all kinds of healers, especially here on Facebook. It's a good place to find that person for you. So, Julian's from Arcturian Starseeds Worldwide. So you could check her out too. So she's pretty cool. And there was something else I was going to say about all of this. If you like this kind of talk before, it's kind of pre-show talk before we actually go live on Facebook and live on Revolution Radio, kind of a pre-talk show, kind of get things in line so we can get our technical aspects of the show grounded. Okay, so I want to thank you for the listeners for 6 years. You've been listening in, so thank you so much. All right, so this is a reading for today's show, and I think we'll just pull this one right here. Oh, it's 5 of Cups. 5 of Cups. So, oh, that means, you got some left. You might have been through some stuff, but you got something left. So let's see that. Might be our friend. Oh, hi, Brad. Okay. Yeah, let's connect. Let's connect. Okay. Okay, email. Okay, so I'll email you. I'll email you right now. So we're going to email Brad. We're going to invite, email Brad. Okay, here we go. To Brad, CC Publishing, send. I just emailed you it. All right. All right, so it should be just a few minutes. That was Brad checking in. Everything's on time and it's all happening. All right, fantastic. So let's go here on Zoom and we'll pull them into the show. Hey, I'm not doing too bad so far, okay? You can always just scan over till 5 o'clock as well, if you want to, as the show goes. So we can do that as well. So, oh, you know what? Also, I need to change. All right, there you are. Hey.
Hey, Bob. How turns out I'm not too far away. Well, closer than I'd normally be. I'm in Santa Barbara right now.
Oh, you are. Wow. Well, we're live on Facebook right now. Just
Little,
so you know.
little getaway. Yeah.
That's
Well, hello, everybody. Great.
so it's beautiful, Santa Barbara.
That's fine. Go live with. Oh,
Yeah.
exceeds my expectations.
Yeah. Have you been walking the beach?
The hot springs up there. You ever been to that one? Did a
I
lot of beach walking, the wharf, the mission.
Wow. I haven't
And
been in.
today we went to these hot springs up in the hills of Santa Barbara.
I didn't.
Gorgeous.
Wow. I haven't been there since I was a teenager. So that's a long day ago, Brad. But yeah, so well, yeah, you're really
Just
close.
a day.
Let's
Here, I'll
see.
show you a quick picture.
Okay. Whoa. That looks amazing. That looks amazing.
Way up high, you can see out to the ocean.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Let's see.
And it's up Hot Spring Road in Santa Barbara. We're like right on the edge of Montecito.
Wow. So is it all natural? Then you just walk to it?
All those hills you see up. Yep, it's a wild hot spring.
How long does it take? What kind of trek to get there?
People have fashioned bamboo poles. It's a pretty good hike. It's about 1 1/3 mile.
Cool.
1.3.
Well, that's not bad.
And it's fairly rocky, so you need good sturdy shoes. But when you get there, it's a just reward. It's really great. So it looks like you're recognize your living room there. Is that your house out in the valley? Or
I'm in a
Pasadena?
I'm in a different place than when you were here last.
Where are you at now?
Yeah, I'm still in Sierra Madre, which is my place. I just love it, but it's a different place.
Okay.
Yeah, I was planning on traveling, right? So I just needed a small place for me to just kind of throw things and go.
That's something.
But it didn't turn out quite that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
what happened last year that changed the course of history.
It did. It really had. Yeah. It slowed me down a lot. I didn't realize how I was such a go-go person until I actually slowed down, which was good in some ways. Hey, it makes you right, Brad?
Slow enough. Yeah. Cool. Well, Sierra Madre, is there any hot springs up there?
Well, the only, not any, but you have to go to like Palm
Trail?
Springs or Desert Hot
'Cause I remember
Springs.
the terrain around there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and that's about 100 miles away, unless some of our listeners
Oh.
know of some that I don't know of, which is possible. All right, so we're gonna go live. Welcome, welcome. It's good to see you. We're gonna go live on Revolution Radio right now. So we'll get
Okay.
that started. There we go.
And freedomslips.com is staff.
There we go.
You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listeners supported radio, and now we return you to your host. Barbara Jean Lindsey is an internationally acclaimed psychic, spiritual healer, author, and founder of the online mystery school, Esoteric University. As the cosmic oracle, she is a conduit to the powers that be to answer your questions about your future self, past lives, current career, love. She shines light into the darkness to illuminate what was, what may be, and beyond. The readings and advice given by Barbara Jean Lindsey are for entertainment purposes only. Should not take the place of any medical, legal, or financial advice given to you by qualified professionals and are not a substitute for medical, legal, or financial advice. If you need a doctor, call a doctor. If you need to be expounded, call a
Hello and welcome everyone to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey. It's Friday, February 19th, 2021. I'm coming to you live from Sierra Madre, California, and this is our 6th year. Believe it or not, 6 years I've been doing this. So started off on Tuesday nights and now it's on Fridays, every Friday from 5 to 7, Los Angeles Pacific Standard Time. And so we want to thank all of our listeners. I have an amazing guest. He's waiting very nicely and behaving until I introduce him officially. And so I want to thank you for joining into the Cosmic Oracle Show today. And we at Revolution Radio are an all volunteer station. So we don't get paid for this. We are just doing it out of the goodness of our hearts. And we really feel that we bring some important energy, important messages, and maybe some solutions for you in your life and in your world today. And so I try to bring the best of the best, and we have one of those here with us this evening. So the way you can keep all of our shows happening, we have like over 80 shows 24/7 here at Cosmic Oracle Show and at the Revolution Radio. So just go to freedomslips.com. That's freedomslips.com and hit that donation button, become a Patreon. It's less than a movie ticket and you can't go to a movie anyway, so you might as well donate to Revolution Radio. So thanks for keeping us on the air and thanks for all your generosity. We really appreciate it. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts for keeping us on the air. And so we have Brad Olsen in the house tonight. I'm so excited. And I'll tell you a little bit about him because I think he would do just a great job because he's an amazing speaker. If you haven't heard him talk or had the privilege to listen to his shows at, last time I saw Brad was at the Contact in the Desert. He does always an amazing job there. But Brad Olsen is the author of not 1, not 2, not 5, but 10 books. I know how difficult that is to do, including 3 in his Esoteric Series, Modern Esoteric, Future Esoteric. And tonight we're going to be talking about his newly released Beyond Esoteric. It's an he's an award-winning author, a book publisher, and event producer, and he is a keynote presentations and interviews have enlightened audiences at Contact in the Desert, UFO Mega Conference, the 5D events, and dozens of radio, including Coast to Coast, Ground Zero, and Fade to Black, and television shows including Ancient Aliens, America and Earth Beyond Belief, and Mysteries of the Outdoors. Brad is a founder and co-producer of the How Weird Street Fair in the Soma neighborhood of San Francisco. And the Chicago native's esoteric writing continues to reach a wide audience while he continues breaking ground in alternative journalism, public speaking, illustration, and photography. You can reach Brad, excuse me, at bradolsen.com or ccpublishing, excuse me, .com. Welcome to the show, Brad.
Hey, Barbara, it's good to see your face and back on Cosmic Oracle. It's been a while since the last time you had me on, and I know we'll have a lot to talk about tonight.
I think we will. The last time I saw you was at Contact in the Desert, and you were all stoked about going to the Antarctica. So could we I thought maybe jump off there. How does that sound? I mean, you could probably start with Argentina and then Antarctica.
Yeah, sure.
We got a lot to cover, right?
Yeah. And well, also the last time I saw you, I was still doing a radio show on Revolution Radio called the Esoteric Circle. I may have an episode from your house, or we worked on one together, and I did my show, you did your show, and it's good to be back. So that was 2019, the last time live conference at Contact in the Desert. In fact, the last one a year ago was UFO MegaCon, and then a lot of them canceled and have still canceled into 2021. So I was very lucky to have gone on this trip of mine down to Argentina and Antarctica 2.5 years ago, because it was still open travel. You can get over the borders. We got on a boat in Argentina, down in Ushuaia, and paying for passage to go there for almost a month, 26 days, on a sailboat with 11 Polish and Merle, the dog captain, and Emily and Luke Dog, 3 Americans. So Emily traveled in South America, and I bought a Ford Expedition, and it was already built out for overland, everything from an out stove to a gas propane tank on the roof to extra and on the roof, and a bed, and even the pillow and blanket came with the car. Everything we needed. Just needed to have 50 Benjamins. And I ended up selling it a little bit more than that 4 months later in El Chetland, southern Argentina, down in Patagonia. And we put on the cover. The guy had to sell it because he couldn't get it into Argentina, where he was from. So I bought it in Santiago, Chile. And it had these from Quebec, and everybody was shied away from this vehicle. It was a great opportunity, but nobody wanted those license plate. They didn't think for the. So I was taking a big chance with it, but I got over every single border I needed to. Went all the way up the spine of northern Chile to Peru. That was the first international border. Then went up and up and up to the Altiplano, and then up to Cusco with Ryan Forrester, and Nassim Harriman was leading a tour with Maura Hoffman and several others from the residents, you know them. Adam Apollo was on the trip, and a few others who are quite luminaries in this field. To make a bunch of friends on that trip. And then we got to go to all the megaliths. So we did the Mysteries of South America tour with this group, from Pitu to Ollantaytambo, the Inca Trail, and so much more, all the ruins in between. So many, take a while, going to like 2 or 3 or 4 megaliths or sites per day. It was just incredible, nonstop, boom, boom, boom. And to be there with Brian Ford, interpreting the whole building of the megaliths, and the origin of them, how they got moved, how they got shaped and formed. Very open experience. And I do one of my conference talks called The Mysteries of South America. So that's that was a great trip. And that was the first 2 weeks. And then that trip was winding down up in Copacabana, Bolivia, right on Lake Titicaca. And that's a site of a lot of activity in and out of the lake. The lake is huge. It's at its longest point about 100 miles long. It's ginormous. Soaring tall Andes Mountains, they would be like the Great Lakes. If it was flat on the other side, it'd be hard to see across. It's such a big lake.
Well, and
really cool.
Yeah, when you worked with Brian Forrester, we'll back up just a minute. I like what you had worked with him about the sound resonance to shift the blocks, right? The stones. I saw one of your interviews with that, and I thought it was fascinating.
Right. That was what was so great going with them, is because they were talking from a very scientific how the ancient builders, who Brian Forrester and Nissim Harriman and others ascribed to the pre-Incan culture that got long before the Incans. And you can quite clearly see the biggest and most precisely fit megalithic blocks at the bottom. And then pretty good building style in the middle, that was the Inca. And then really inferior building, which was the Spanish / Peruvian, like the native and Spanish design using adobe bricks and adobe cement just crumbles in an earthquake. This stuff stays pretty well intact, but the megalithic stuff, it just lasts through the ages. And perhaps that's why they built on such a grand scale. This was a sizably active area. Yeah. So we had the great opportunity then to discuss how to quarry the stones and then sometimes take them down very steep valleys, across rivers, and then up again to the building site. And it kind of made no sense. Why not just quarry right there? But I guess it was a special kind of stone they wanted. So at this site called could see the quarry in the mountain on the other side of the valley. And there were still some stones along the way, but towards the top of the quarry, the road, so they were moving them down this very steep hillside across a river, giant megalithic stones. We're talking 30, 70, which are massive, as big as a bus or more in weight. And moving these megalithic blocks like they're, and then fitting together so precisely, and oftentimes seeing what appeared to be trowel marks, or they were molding. That's how they fit together so tight. So we're talking about two undiscovered modes of science that we're still playing to try to understand how they did this. The first being rendering the blocks weightless using auditive levitation. And that is, matter in the world has a certain resonance, frequency, density. Every piece of matter, from the solid walls around us, to bodies, to everything that's even inside us, from the germs and the bacteria to every kind of pathogen. Royal Raymond Rife, he developed this microscope that could see it and just blow up cancer and all other kind of pathogens. Very revolutionary science 100 years ago before he got ruthlessly suppressed. These kind of technology of matching a frequency and resonance, the ancients, we presume, were moving the stones using levitation, rendering those objects weightless, and then just steering them with a touch, keeping some kind of sound or frequency, whatever it is that matches these boulders, and then they can lift up and move. And the Tibetans were doing this. I outline it in my book, Future Esoteric, in the Forbidden Sciences. that these techniques were learned and then lost and now are being rediscovered. So then they get these megaliths up another hillside, and then by perfectly placing them, they rendered the stone soft. Harriman is describing it as cold plasma technique. So getting the rock so it's malleable like soft clay,
Marshmallow.
and in place, creating these most improbable angles, many at an angle, sometimes with curvature lines, perfectly fitted together every single time and all the way through the stone. So it would suggest that they were molding these megaliths as they were placing them, letting them dry, and then you got to fit with them. So that was very interesting to learn these new forbidden sciences, which I include in my esoteric series of books. Great material to write about.
Yeah, and then to see it and I like the idea of really taking time to really explore these new sciences, right? With the new sciences and the new information comes a whole new way of life for us. The possibilities.
Oh, it just redefines everything. Now we have to play catch up and start to incorporate this kind of science to our own understanding, and then use it in construction. So
I can't wait.
isn't it any wonder that there have been, been no megalithic sites built in the modern age using giant stones, all except one, and that's right in America, and the Coral Castle down in Florida.
Oh, the Coral Castle.
Have you ever been to that site or heard about it?
Yeah, you went down there. I remember. Yeah, I heard about that. And he died before he gave any of his discoveries of how he did it.
Told nobody. Any little guy, 5 foot tall, 100 pounds, he was moving blocks that were 33 tons all by himself.
I read somewhere that he might have put
understanding this as well.
Yeah. Did someone say that he might have put,
he had some kind of.
Go ahead.
Well, look, I took the tour and I questioned the guide and I asked them, so how the heck did they move this? Never pull any sense. And they did admit that there was some kind of mysterious black box that he would use on the top of the pulley, and that went missing. And those who spied on him said they saw him with the 2 cone-shaped guiding wands, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. And he moved the site one time, and he told the driver, just leave your flatbed, and I'll load the truck up. And the guy would come back the next morning, and the megaliths would be on the truck ready to go. And he just worked single-handedly alone. So there are these mysteries of the megaliths, which now finally becoming revealed. And it had to do with those 3 things that Tesla told about. If you want to understand the mysteries of the universe, think in terms of see, sound, and vibration. And there you have a possible solution of how to move great big blocks. So the more we learn about frequencies, such as cymatics, when you put frequency on a sound pad and the sand moves in pattern, it creates mandalas at different hertz frequenins.
Right.
And some of them resemble crop circles.
Right,
So
with Michael Hill's work.
Well, after a while. Yeah, that's right. I like Michael Hill.
I like him
great.
too.
We met at conferences and
we're good friends.
Son of Eric Clapton. Slow hand.
Why not? Why not?
He's so good at everything else. Yeah, why not? It's got to have some kids.
Yeah. Well, and so with this also changes our view of our history, right? From everything keeps getting older and older. And so when you were going across, can we go to Antarctica again? Because
sure
I'm a little bit stuck there, and
Sure,
I want to know what you found out there. And I also am really excited to hear that you, after maybe not this year, but next year, you might take a crew back there because you learned all the things not to do and all the things to do, so you could really find what you're looking for there.
Yeah, so after Bolivia, and that was quite an adventure, going across the high desert plateau and going to the Salar de Uyuni, the largest salt flat in the world. So you can see it from outer space, enormous in size than Lake Titicaca. And Lake Titicaca drains only into the Salar, this big salt flat. It's kind of like the way one drainage key river to Pyramid Lake, a desert lake. Same thing with up in Peru and Bolivia.
That's
Bolivia is a very high elevation, super high elevation, like 12,000 feet. Yeah, you're up way, way up there. Lake Titicaca, 13,000 feet. And we were climbing some islands in Lake Titicaca that were over. We got up to about 13,500.
holy.
That's as high as some of the mountains Sierras. Those are big mountains.
How did you breathe?
So you get used to the elevation, but there's certainly altitude adjustments. And then when you come to it, just feels so good. And then that was crossing over into Argentina and then driving something like 5,100 kilometers all the way from the northern part of Argentina to the southern tip, Ushuaia. But all along the way, looking into some of these secret out places, and there's a good TV show on the History Channel called Hunting Hitler, and it has a lot of these locations and a very real possibility that he escaped. And I went to a couple of those locations, including his hidden home. Getting near it, couldn't see it at the gate area, but it's called the Inalco House, and it's near San Carlos de Bariloche. And that town, Barbara, it's like you're walking into a German barbarian, everything very Germanic there, and you just feel like you're in Europe. In a lot of places in Chile and Argentina are like that. But Peru and Bolivia are more of the indigenous culture, and there the people are much smaller and darker skin. But in Chile, they've pretty much eliminated all their Native American people. It's like 1% of the population in those two countries.
There has to be some
there's no Native
wisdom.
American people in Chile and Argentina.
There have to be
Well,
back
the
hidden.
joke is that it.
Don't you think they're hidden back there
Well,
somewhere?
they're in Peru and Bolivia for the most part, but yeah, hidden back there somewhere. Yeah, but there are some tribes like the giants of southern go completely extinct. It's really a shame, and lost their culture, their language, all the people. I mean, it was genocide.
Yeah.
So the joke is, if we don't have any indigenous people here anymore, who are we in Argentina and Chile? And they are mostly Greek and Italian.
Oh.
It had the biggest families. So the joke is, oh, well, we're Italians who speak Spanish and wish we were as rich as the Germans, because the Germans have the money down there, still do to this day. They own the largest estates. Yeah, all the restaurants around there, and these giant
language. Is German the language?
that are still here, completely who own it. Oh yeah. No, it's all Spanish, but there are pockets of German-speaking people up at the Eden Hotel in La Falda, where they think Hitler was after the war. And there's a witness that's still alive in the village, a chambermaid in the hotel. There's Hitler being there after the war with Eva Braun and Martin Bormann. Yeah, that's what the tour guide told me after the tour. I said, do you really think he lived and he was here? So, oh yeah, there's a woman here in town that will tell. And they've interviewed her on certain shows. Yeah. So the funny thing is, it's kind of like ETs, Barbara, because there's a real popular UFO sighting area near there too. And they're just with it. It's you Americans got a hang up about the Nazis not completely being captured all after the war, or even with you. It's like, got a problem with it. We're cool. We have contactees and we don't mistreat them, and we're very fascinated with the others.
Right, right. Not like us. We're coming.
That's
Things are
our hang
changing
up.
pretty fast here, I think. We're on a fast track here. We're playing catch up here in the US, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So then to answer your question, we start closer to Antarctica. And that's when things started getting interesting, because I've saved all my good information about the Antarctic information and all that research that I did down there into this new book. Beyond Eric, I'm trying to find some maps I can show. Well, here's some of the German New Schwabenland. My son and our colleague spoke on a panel at Contact in the Desert, and we trade information about things, the bell, and these are some maps that have surfaced recently about the submarines going down under the ice and the area that they mapped out and had their New Berlin base, or big tool, and it's near these hot springs. Funny, I was just at some hot springs here in Santa Barbara today. It's funny how us German people like springs, the cold and the hot, doing that plunge. Right. And so they found some hot springs there in this New Schwabenland area. Geothermal heat, you can create free energy, you can melt water, snow into water, you can heat moon, you can do a lot of things, and it even creates these big ice cavities under the polar plateau. So Antarctica is the most volcanically active in the 91 active volcanoes. So it's a land of fire and ice, and 99% of the continent is covered with snow and ice, sometimes at a depth of over 2 miles deep up on the polar plateau. So it really is like a forgotten this planet. It's like a lost world down there.
And you think that's why Captain Byrd went to go find them there? He went on his trek, supposedly why he went and why he really went, two different scenarios.
You mean, yeah, it was to be a research mission with Marines and Navy SEAL guys and troops and battleships and submarines, and other countries joined in. And it was supposed to be 6 months, and they had an altercation near New Schwabenland. Came up out of the water and sliced one of the ships in half. And then Admiral Byrd turned around and quit the expedition after 2 months. So why did he do that? Why do you call it short? Something happened down there, and Operation Jump Hill considered top secret. It's still classified. Why can't we know about something that happened 75 years ago?
Right.
So we're not getting the full story about what's going on down there. That's
well, they could tell you, Brad, but then they'd have to kill you. Okay, so
I tried. I looked. I asked.
You tried.
Nobody was
talking. I don't think you've totally given up either, though. I don't think you have. I think you're going to go back again, and when you go back again, yeah, you're going back.
Then we're gonna find.
See that it'll all come together, and there's something there for you too. I don't know what it is, but there's something that you'll discover that's important, and it's just your nature to find it.
Oh, I would like to find the old German base.
Yeah.
I'd love to find the old base 211. That would be. Well, I had a producer that contacted me after Contact in the Desert and said he wanted to try to raise some funding through a production company and go down there and shoot some episodes. So I told him I'm game. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think you're the one to do it. You really are. I don't know why. Don't just
I'll
kidding.
go back, but we couldn't go this year.
No.
We were gonna go, but everything got shut down. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then with also with like all
Oh
the
yeah, now we're down there for
Mhm. I was just thinking I
all the
just
what?
remember reading about when it was real popular for a while there to Antarctica. Were you there like when the Senator Kerry went and all those people and Aldrin, and why do you think it was so popular for them to go to
Yeah, that was
Antarctica?
just a couple years before me. Yeah,
That's
that's a big
interesting.
mystery. They were a couple years before me, and yeah, there was still the talk of the area because they weren't coming down when I was there, but they all went down at a certain same time here, 2018, 2016. John Kerry was there on election day, and that kind of made no sense. Why did he have to go there in the presidential election when Trump won? So they think he went down there to get his marching orders from the globalists who may have their hiding there. Rumor, because he did land in McMurdo base, and then he went into the field for several days. Nobody knew where he went. McMurdo back. So there's a lot of mysteries to that trip of his, and a lot of other heads of state, royal family members, the rich and famous, even some celebrities were making trips down there.
Yeah. And did you discover anything about
a lot
the
of mysteries
giants? About the giants?
But we found that there was well, only from what I've heard from some other, that there were supposed to be these pre-Adamite progenitor race, and there was some archaeological digs down there, but I couldn't find anything about it. It may have been that I was just in a certain area, because it's a big continent, it's the 5th largest continent of the world. And so it's in this one part, but we did find that there's a big no-fly zone over the South Pole. That's for sure.
Huh.
That's interesting. Why it is.
Right.
Why do they have a big no-fly zone there?
It's a long distance too.
So that, and there was a UFO sighting at another one. Say again?
Was it a pretty good distance of no-fly?
Yeah, it's I think 30 by 30 miles
Wow.
across. I mean, big enough that it could have a hole that Admiral Byrd thought he could fly into, around, and then out again. Is that big?
Rather fascinating. I'm so glad you went there, because someone needed to go there and represent the people,
Yeah, well, as far as I know, I'm the only one in the research community that's gone down there to look into these kind of questions, at the conferences and stuff. They've been down there, and a few others with the programs and through the military or secret space program. But as far as like us who researches it and does some media on it and reports, in the UFO community, I don't know many people. They go down there. People will want to go down there, but it's kind of challenging. It's harder. It's hard travel. Let's put it that way. You got to really want it.
Think so. For me, just the
we're
cold
a
is
sailboat.
a no. Okay, just the cold is just enough to just
Yeah.
And on a sailboat must look and feel pretty small in such a vast place. I mean, that in itself, I would think, would be a huge challenge.
Yeah, and also the weather. The Drake Passage is a really rough crossing, so it was 4 days to get down there. Just 90 hours from the time the dock in Ushuaia. The first day on the Beagle Channel, it was just fine. Dolphins swimming alongside the boat. wind swimming alongside us. It was just like a pleasure cruise. And then as soon as we got out to the open sea and turned south on the, then everything changes. The sea starts to swell, and then we caught a tail end of a storm, and that really rocked the boat. We even had some stuff overboard. If not for the harness on our vest, 3 people who were up on deck on watch got hit by a wave, and one of them actually went overboard.
Holy crap.
Because he wrapped in, they were able to pull him back. But it was a harrowing moment. Another guy had a big gash on his leg because they just went flying. So it was a harrowing crossing, and we all got seasick, all but the captain and a few first mates who were able to get us through it. But I was much ridden for 2 days, just trying to not to throw up and not to have to go to the bathroom, because it was just such an arduous task to walk to the bathroom during heat seas and feeling nauseous, and then having to go to the bathroom, and then also sitting there and puking. I mean, it was not for easy, but I lost about 25 pounds on that trip too. Lost a huge amount of weight because I hadn't threw up everything in my stomach from the last 2 days, and then for 3 days. So it was like I didn't have any food for 5 days, fasting diet. But we got there, and it's amazing what you there. Just the scenery, the animals they don't have fear of people. So we'd have the whales come swimming up and even under our boat time, and penguins, you go right up to them and take a picture of them. And it's like they didn't see you there, or they weren't bothered by it at all. You could go right off seal, leopard seals, the ones that eat the penguins, and they're just kind of looking at you. Or we'd sail by and they'd be on an iceberg, and they're all just looking at them. It's really funny. So it's good to see the wildlife is still in pretty good shape down there.
And when you got to your destination, it must have felt good to put your feet on land. And did you kiss the earth, or
Didn't go to that extent, but I was glad when we got to.
Yeah. And then you explored while you were there as well.
Then set up that we could go ashore, and every day it was like a new adventure. So it was 2 days at the pole base just to get us all feeling good again. Shower, meals. One night we sang songs and had drinks we were on a boat in Poland, and our first stop was a Polish base called Arktowski. And so we brought them all fresh fruit and vegetables, and they were glad to see us, and we were glad to see them. And they took us on a tour, penguin colony, and a couple of hikes around the base, made some new friends. And then left 2 days and sailed in the iceberg fjords of King George Island. And at that point, we saw a huge glacier come down. And you see the moon, and it catches your eye, and you look across the bay, and you see it all come down with a great big splash. But it takes a second to hear it.
Yeah. I've seen it.
And then the next thing you see are the waves that are rolling out. And so we had to get our boat facing straight into the wave. It did give us quite a rock to get through it. So it's wrought with danger there. There's a lot of things that go wrong, from the heavy seas to something like a glacial collapse. And we were even climbing on the icebergs, and I've seen some icebergs and people getting thrown on them. Didn't happen to us, but we're kind of with risk takers, some younger people that really wanted to do the thing, and that was great because I love that kind of thing. Yeah, so we were doing, every day was a new adventure, a hike, a penguin colony, a research station. There's even an old base that the British had called Port Lockroy, and you can mail a postcard from there. It's the southernmost post office of the world. And then later on, we were the Ukrainian base called Vernansky, and they have the southernmost bar in the world. It's called Faraday Bar, and down there. We had a fun night partying with those guys, and the next day sat in their sauna and ran out, jumped in the water, did the icebergs and did the polar plunge. So a lot of cool experiences from that trip. But everybody I talked to at all research just didn't know about any of the UFOs under the ice or the pyramids or any kind of archaeological digs. So that all came up a big no. But then there was one base called the Brown Base, and it was run by the Argentinians. And they said there was another base, their sister base called the Belgrano 2, and they had a UFO sighting about a month before. So we heard about that just sort of through the grape. They didn't really want to talk about it, kind of had to twist their arm to tell us, and we got it out of them. And then yeah, it was pretty interesting. So it was that the fly zone, big reveals from that trip as far as looking into any of this UFO stuff.
Right. But maybe you planted some seeds for your next trip, though. They'll think about it, right?
Yeah, that's true. Always planning the next one.
Yeah, you're not finished yet. I know you're not finished. You're just getting started, okay?
Just getting started.
So what else do you want to, we could talk about all sorts of things. You'd sent me, we could stay with Antarctica for a little bit, or we could go into what your some of the things in your book that you talked about, or we can go into, you sent me a photo of the Mexico caves. Talk about that a little bit, or whatever you want to, wherever you want to go with this.
Yeah. How long are we going for?
Well, we have until like 20
long
minutes,
did you-
about 20 minutes, and then we're going to take a break, and then we come back for another hour. So
So there's a lot of time.
there's a lot of time. We can just,
Lot
so
time to
we can talk about
talk.
whatever you
Why
think.
don't I just finish? Yeah, you could put up that slide.
Okay.
That was kind of interesting. And
Okay.
then to talk about a little bit about that, how the
Find it. Let's see. So there you are.
yeah, that one.
And there's your, that's what it looks like from a distance.
Right.
It's just so huge.
No, that's Antarctica without the ice. So you can see these great big fjords. But at the top of the picture on the left, that bottom of South America. So that's where we sailed from, Ushuaia, and those channels, the Magellan Strait in there, and then the Beagle crossing at the bottom, and then Cape Horn is the southernmost island. And that's when most people that came to the West Coast, they sailed around Cape Horn. They went through the Magellan Straits. So then south of there, that deep passage, that's the Drake. And the long finger land is West Antarctica. That's also the Palmer Peninsula. Well, where your cursor is, that's all East Antarctica, and that's all covered in ice.
Wow. And so where were you?
But you can see that there's some big channels underneath, just at the very tip on the upper left. Not
there.
No, that's all Antarctica. That's where Robin Land, where your cursor is now, that's the German claim up there on the top. Just below South Africa.
Okay.
Is New Schwabenland. So if you go up with your cursor to the left, that finger of the land, yeah, that's the Palmer Peninsula. And that's a real jagged, mountainous finger of land, but it's all clad in glaciers. And those shallow bays, those are all the ice fields. So that's Larsen Ice Shelf where your cursor is, and the Ross Ice Shelf. And that's what continually breaks off into those giant icebergs, float north, and then they eventually melt where your cursor is now. And so we were just on the northern tip of the Palmer Peninsula, the other direction. other,
Up,
you
right.
see South America in the top
I don't
upper
have my,
left corner. No,
I
that's
can't see with my glasses, so I'm gonna just upper left-hand corner.
okay. Yeah, right there. So now you're on the southern tip of South America. We crossed over to the Palmer Peninsula. That was the region I was at.
Okay.
And
Right in.
then took 6 days to sail back
Wow.
because we had to go against the wind, and the sailboat had to tack back and forth.
Wow.
And that was pretty torturous how long that took. But we didn't get sick on the way back. That's the good part. So
Right.
you take Dramamine pills, and you can get those over the counter. But
Mhm.
the trick with Dramamine is you got to start taking a day or two before you anticipate getting seasick. And we
Okay.
just started taking them the day we got on the Drake, and it was too late.
Oh,
It
yeah, it's
didn't.
too late. See, that's
Boy,
a
it was
significant
one of the
learning.
worst seasickness I've
It
ever
won't,
had.
it won't happen again,
Oh
though. We
yeah.
only have to do that once, right? It's like a bad divorce. You only have to do it once.
Yeah, next time I would fly over.
Would you?
Next time I certainly fly over. But
Okay,
about
see
where
that.
you go on with a film crew, and that's where we would go. You see, the other landmass to the right, that's Africa, Southern Africa, and Madagascar. So if you flew, you can fly from there to Nishwabenland. You can fly from Puerto Serenas, Chile, to King Island and go inland. And then the other direction is from New Zealand to McMurdo. But the Nazi base is that, you see that one finger directly across from South Africa? There's a bunch of fjords, the small one on the right in Antarctica. I do believe that's the fjord that the Nazis were able to get their U-boats under. And that would have been access to the Newland base. Even that little fjord, yeah, that one there, even that little fjord would be several hundred miles long and have a bunch of different directions you could go. Then you'd be well under the polar plateau, which, as I said, is about 2 miles deep. And with the geothermal activity that's apparent in that area, then you got a power source. You could build a base there quite easily.
Like right in
I'd
there.
be a
right?
lonely existence. I don't think it would be very fun. You're there just to do your work. That's the pole right in the middle. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. That's where it would be, don't you
That's
think?
presumably where the hole was.
Yeah, I think that makes, I don't know anything, but that makes sense to me. From a psychic perspective, there's something
Yeah.
right there.
That-
That's what it feels like.
Oh,
Huh.
okay. Cool. You're picking that up.
Yeah, yeah. I used, I traveled also, and
Interesting.
we used to go to places,
Yeah, because
and the psychic I would go to the places and then pick up psychically what was happening too. And so we make good teams that way. So if you, not that I ever want to go to Antarctica, but if you want a psychic to add to your team when you explore, it's interesting. We can bring a different kind of a perspective.
be careful what you're wishing for there, Barbara. Yeah, but it's hard travel.
I won't go to Antarctica. I'm so glad you did
Maybe
that.
we'll need some support.
I'll do it from a distance.
Well, you could be our home team.
Right, I would be your
group.
home team psychic, because I could look at
Yeah,
where you
that's
are
right.
here. Definitely. And then we'll show
Oh,
this.
cool.
That's a great picture of you with all the ice behind you too. I like that.
Well, no, that's not ice. That's actually the salt flats. That's Solar
Oh, the salt flat.
Diwyuni. That's a big flat you can see from base. It was
Isn't
so
that-
pure you could just take a lick from the ground. Yeah, it's real salt. You can just eat it straight off the ground. It's amazing.
Wow.
And then
Mhm.
so I just going through some random pictures and came across some of these, including the next one of the cave that got they were mining down there in Mexico, and they found the world's largest crystals in the Niacea lead and silver mine. And you can see those workers there in orange, how big crystals are. And I
Right.
think I sent you this picture, Barbara, because I'd like to have your take on what do you think
Okay.
of crystal, of their properties, of do you think they have even some consciousness or
I
properties of
think,
being alive?
yeah, you're going to laugh at this, okay? Because I knew the photographer that went with the Sanchez brothers when they discovered this cave, believe it or not. I met her at San Francisco.
Wow.
Yeah, and you're just gonna be blown away. And after we talked and met, and she came to my home. This is a piece of the crystal from that cave. I have it. She gave it to me.
Wow.
So next time you come and
Wow.
visit,
What that,
you
yeah,
gotta
I
see.
picked up on that
But
psychically sending you this picture. Look
I
at
know, isn't that
that.
just wild?
It
It's
looks
just
like
pretty
one.
wild. So, and this is more like it's selenite. It's like a selenite crystal. So when you're talking about salt, too, like the Antarctica and the salt, when you use selenite, selenite clears all the other crystals because of its values. So that I in the Antarctica with the salt as well in the Antarctica.
Uh-huh.
Well, where salt clears things, it
Yeah, yeah.
something there. I'm not a scientist, but there is something there. But no, I think it is alive. And
Well, what do you
well, it's
feel
kind of like,
about,
like they use crystals
yeah,
in
is
computers.
there a
The
certain,
Earth has her computer system as well,
right,
her way to talk, her way um, um, to communicate. They can communicate through the crystal. In vibration, right? You're talking about tone and vibration.
consciousness,
It's the same thing. It's where they
yeah,
speak through selenite through tone and vibration. So that makes sense to me. And they're so huge, isn't it? It's just
absolutely.
amazing. I remember when I saw this the first time, I didn't know anything about it until I met this young woman in San Francisco. And that's funny, that's where you live too. So I think and we talked about that.
Yeah,
So
she was down there, and
I
did she
didn't
have a
go,
chance to go down there? Because they had to
yes,
drain the water out of this cave.
right. She
And
met
there
this
was
guy. She said the whole thing was really
some
weird.
talk about letting it fill up again.
Are they?
How so?
Oh. So
They might
she,
up again.
I
So they're
guess
trying to get a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
it's important that we are able to see it. I would think, and it's hard to get to, right?
I would
I
love to
don't
go down
remember her
there.
name, but I'll see if I can find it in all of my back stuff. But where she met this man out of the blue, and he said, I'm going to go do this. She didn't even know where she was going and what she was going to film until she got there. So it's interesting. And she never saw him again
Oh,
afterwards
wow.
either. So she said the whole thing was really strange. The whole setup was kind of strange. Um, and that I have a piece of it, I think is even stranger in some ways.
I happen to randomly only seen that in the Antarctic picture and happen to have a backstory with you. That's great. Wow. With a piece of crystal from that.
Yeah, and I just
And I
learned from
see
a
it
friend of
mine.
mine for
Well, yeah, I
protection.
mean,
Mhm. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Okay,
For
my friend
protect.
said why you have this crystal, this particular crystal, it has so much of the selenite in it that it clears all the other crystals. So if you have any other crystals or stones that are emanating any energy, that this one is the one that clears everything. Like you have shungite and you have dolomite, you have all these different crystals that do different things and different powers to them, but the selenite is the one that clears them all. It's kind of like there can only be one. It's kind of like that, this is the one that clears all of them. So as conductor, it must be huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
it keeps,
I thought I'd send you that. I thought I'd send you that picture because I have a chapter in my book about crystals, and I know that you're really well in tune with the energy and potential of what crystals do. Isn't it interesting that on the periodic table, carbon is right above silica, and both are known to be what is essential in certain kinds of life. And so our periodic table is matched with silica.
Mhm.
And I was reading an article from Nexus Online that we have little crystals in our brain
Right.
that actually are receivers with our pineal gland.
Exactly, with our
And
pineal.
they're part of us, just in
They
the
are.
same way that, yeah, crystals are formed from the carbon world
Yeah.
through a chemical process.
Well, it's,
So we have a lot in common with crystals, and some
do.
think that they even have a certain level of consciousness. You
Mhm.
mentioned that it can be used for memory storage, and with different rocks have different properties
Mhm.
and can help heal people too.
Yeah,
So crystals are our friends.
they are. They are. And this picture is just still so striking. And our Earth is that big too. You know, we forget because we're on top of it, that inside it's just huge. And that with it feels like it's something to with breath with this too, where it maybe how the Earth breathes in some ways. It's interesting. That's the first thing that came to me when I
Yeah,
saw this picture, is that the way that she's
it
able to
is.
breathe. So, and it's not science at all, but maybe someone can put the science to that, but it does feel like that to me. So, okay, we're getting ready for
So
a
she
break.
was able to actually travel down into the
Yeah,
mountain.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
find her.
Yeah, I went
I'll find
hiking
her
all
name
day
for
today.
you. I'll find her name for you. I'll give
Okay,
it to you. Okay. But we're almost ready for a break.
sounds good.
We're just kind of, I don't know, we're kind of taking it easy on today's show. I don't know why, Brad, but we are. So stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back.
We'll take it easy.
Listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message. Wadia will remain a dictatorship. Oh, be quiet. Why are you guys so anti-dictators? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests. Tune in Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time for Liberation Nation with Zeke and John, where America comes to hear the truth. I know this is hard for you Americans to imagine, but please try. Ohio Politics will be on from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Studio A. Mark Schneider will have guests on that will discuss many important topics, including the state of the world today.
However, much of the show will be dedicated to the writings of Edward Albert Meyer. Let me read a short passage from one of his writings. Love is the highest principle of creation, and through it, everything exists in absolute logic. All of nature in its indescribable splendor is nothing but the love of creation, which is expressed visibly. The love of creation is everywhere, because without it, nothing at all would be able to exist. Please join Mark on all highlights of politics from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Studio A. It is no secret that the so-called mainstream media is best described as controlled propaganda. Countless news stories are either totally ignored or spun with half-truths, and because of this, essential facts and vital information are often compromised. Join Dr. Ott every Friday night on Studio B at 10 p.m. Eastern and learn why the story behind the story was nominated for a Peabody Award in its second year of producing unparalleled broadcasting excellence in 1997. That is, if you really care about learning the truth. Transcending time and space, let us take you to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenn Perspective with our great host, Lori Fenn. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenn Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listeners-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome back to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and we have with us this evening, we have Brad Olsen, my friend and author of how many books? There are quite a few, but we're going to talk about Future Esoteric, The Unseen Realms. Oh, 10 books, wow. Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses, Sacred Places, North America, 108 Destinations, and his latest book, we are going to get into your book, which we haven't really done, Beyond Esoteric, Escaping Prison Planet. So yes, I think it's great. I have a Kindle of it, but it's everyone should have it. It's it takes what we've been talking about for the last, I don't know, the last 10 years, last 20 years, and putting it all into a condensed cohesive plan that we can take as humans and change this planet and kind of take it back. Welcome aboard, Brad Olsen, the Cosmic Oracle Show. Welcome back.
Great to be here with Z. You know, one thing I have to do with the hosts is to ask them a question.
Okay.
And that is the subtitle of the book, Escaping Prison Planet.
Yeah.
And I love to ask the hosts, who are very articulate and informed, about what they think Escaping Prison Planet is. How do you do it, and what is it?
Okay.
And, to have your perspective on that.
Okay, I would think for me, the first thing that comes to mind would be shifting to a different dimension. Like we're mostly tied to the third dimension here, and
Yeah.
it can be dense and it's controlled. So for me, it would be upping my vibration, expanding my consciousness so that I could spend some time more in that fifth dimension, at least to the fifth. That's what the Hopi say in the First Nations, that we're evolving and going into that. And that's where I feel like I resonate in the first place. It's always been kind of a battle to be here in some ways because it's so dense, and man's inhumanity to man can get pretty just, pretty dark and down, and that if we can escape, I think it would be escape. Yeah, that I would think for me, it would be more like we could change it by escaping and getting a bigger view of what's going on. Then we can come back and also then change this third dimension that we're in as well. So to escape, to gather all the information and wisdom, and then vibrate really high, and then bring back the mothership and the scout ships, and then go down to the earth, and let's bring it back to where it's beautiful and it's sustainable, and it's it's a living a true dream of what we can create here, and that is that humanity isn't lost. That we have such potential within us to wake up and take back our planet and kick some ass. So that's my response.
I like it. Good answer. I knew you could come to the plate with that one, Barbara. Good job.
So yeah. So what do you think?
I
know
totally agree. Yeah, you got it. You nailed it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of all that, and it's learning these subjects, learning how deep the rabbit hole goes. Boy, when you bring ETs into the question, it just gets even more complex.
Mm-hmm.
Like the late Bill Cooper said, you put the alien in the middle of this stuff and you get all the answers. And he's pretty right. I mean, from the leap in technology to how far we come with consciousness. I mean, look, when we were kids, we were still using rotary phones. Now we've got these mini smart computers in our pocket and lost $100. It's crazy how quickly we've moved to this modern age and all the trappings that come with it. So part of the whole moment that we're in here, remember, I don't know if you know, there was a really great book in the 1980s called Trends by John Naisbitt. And he correctly forecasted a lot of what was going to happen in the world in the decade ahead. And one of the chapters was called High Tech, High Touch, meaning the more high tech we get, the more we're going to need human interaction and to have this connection among ourselves. I've always resonated with that whole idea of high tech, high touch.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to use that.
Because we see each other and it's great to be in your presence, but we're still looking at a screen, right? but it kind of feels like we're together, hanging out and just have a talk like that if we were in the living room of your house.
It's where thought goes, energy flows too. We're right there as an energetic. And like when someone passes into the afterlife, right? There's no time or space there. They're right there with you. You don't see them, but they're right there with you. So if you close your eyes, you can really see the world, right?
Right. So these are subjects that I know we've talked about many times, Barbara conferences, and anytime we have a chance to hang out. And it's just very encouraging to see a lot of people starting to get interested in all these subjects, everything exopolitics, and who are the aliens and what their agenda, all the way to the secret controllers and the elite and the Illuminati, but it's exposing a lot of their really dark, dirty crimes as well, which we've been talking about for years. It shouldn't be much of a shock to us to hear about trafficking coming out of the deep underground military bases. But to the rest of Americans and the rest of the world, this is going to be, wow, going to rock people to the core. And it's starting to do that already. But it has to be. It's just the way it's got to go. Truth and
And don't you feel like you were
reconciliation.
vaccinated?
And
You didn't get all your
we get
information.
through this. Well, then we get through this, and then we move on to the golden age, and we have the great potential to living in this Jetsons future, and not the George Orwell future. We don't want the 1984 Big Brother aggressive dystopia. We want the golden age with Tesla free energy technology and cleaning up this planet, not having war anymore, and getting rid of the whole greed system of scarcity, and everybody's out to make a buck, and they're quite ruthless about it. The way they go about it is, that's what we're taught. That's how you get in the world, is you gotta fight to do whatever it does, and it's a dog eat dog world. Get out there and make some of yourself. Well, we've been trained, and now we have to deprogram and turn it back. And like that chapter, high tech.
Yeah.
The more we get into this high tech world, we can't forget our humanity. We can't forget the need to be together, companionship, friendship, and our friend, family, and animals, and caring for the natural world. It's all very, very important that we sight of what our real purpose is here in life, and just to go out and have fun. Joie de vivre, as the French say, the joy of life, joy of living. Go have a meal night. Go hike a trail you've never been up to before. Take a road trip. You get it.
And it's what
You know.
happens when you're doing something you love, right? And you have passion for it
Right.
and great joy for it. Your vibration goes way up, and you can't be touched when you're up there. That's a part of it. It's like,
Exactly.
where they want to, there is that force that wants to keep you down and wants to keep you behaved. But and in competition or alone and isolated, there's a lot of head games. There's lots of programs. You can just pick a whole bunches of them. But if part of it is being aware, if you can be aware, then you have a choice, and then you have your freedom.
Exactly. And that's where we want to be. Have
Then
a voice and have our freedom and live and let live. I like the whole concept of government called laissez-faire, hands off. There's another great French term.
yeah.
Hands
I'm
off
for that.
government, laissez-faire. This is alone. Look, we'll pay
Yeah,
some
right.
taxes for schools and roads and things that are essential, but keep your oppressive laws off the body. Start there. And then government just gets too much, too oppressive, too big. And that's when revolutions begin. That's when people just can't take it anymore. There was an old saying that goes back to the French Revolution, Barbara. I love this one. And you got to believe that all the high ups in government and the controlling elite know this, that we're only 8 meals away from revolution. Meaning if the supply chains go, if something happens, natural disaster or nuclear war, whatever, 8 meals away, that's 3 days, and people go batshit crazy. I was in Santa Cruz, the Loma Prieta earthquake in 1989. And I'll tell you, that was a transformative moment, because to see the supermarket shelves go empty within a couple hours and not be restocked for sometimes days or even weeks for some items. It's basically what you have in your cupboard, that's what you're off of. And there's parts of Texas right now that got hit by this freak storm. The water went out and the electricity went out, and the supermarket shelf was repaired. So people they're not really used to this deep freeze and deep snow, and they're having to get a little treatment, and that's all. But now I heard it's supposed to get up to 7 degrees this weekend. So now it's all going to get warm and melt, and then Texas will go back to state in general. But what an
I-
experience they've just had in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I just saw where I didn't get to see much of it. Maybe you know more about it, where they had the snow and they lit the snow on fire in Texas, that there was chemicals in the snow so much so that you could light a match to the snow and it would
Yep.
set on fire. What's up with that, right? It's like,
I saw some of those videos.
yeah, that's a big
Scary.
flag. Yeah.
Well, I have a chapter in
Yeah.
I have a chapter in Beyond Esoteric about geoengineering. Yeah. So quite well aware that being sprayed and have been for many years now. And it's really hard to deny that these spray campaigns have been going on. Geoengineering, what it looks like. I'm sure we've all been acquainted with the Chris skies, all different weather programs, how strange the weather is, and Bill Gates, I don't know, that guy dumping tons of money into dimming the sun. So that's the cover story, that it's global dimming. And who's it? Brennan got in front of the Council on Foreign Relations. He was the head of the CIA during Obama's years. And he said he was touting the benefits of spraying skies, making stratospheric injection of these particulate matter. Well, I just interview with Max Egan and Michael Jaco, and he was saying that in Australia, remember they had those really horrific fires about a year ago, January. And he said some people he knew were testing after a heavy chemtrail day this particulate matter. And it was like what they put in the sparklers on the 4th of July. You know, when you light them, they sparkle and burn and crackle. Yeah, they're fire incendiary particulate matter. They could be doing that to us here in California with all these horrific fires that we're getting.
It makes you think about
But then
it.
you see those videos in Texas where they're lighting the snowball on fire. What's that?
It makes you wonder for sure if it was all set up to,
Yeah.
like we are like sheeple in a way where there is this bigger control that we have no control over, but we do if we all get together and start a revolution. But no one has time for that, Brad. Just kind of,
Well, we will if the supply lines
exactly.
break.
Exactly.
As soon as Americans feel pain, then that's their call to action. That we're
Yeah.
kind of lazy and complicit, but as soon as we get the pinch, yeah, then we're at it.
Yeah.
And will be change. There will be revolution. And I just hope it's a peaceful one, because I always say that consciousness, our raising consciousness, that revolution, not going out there with pitchforks or guns or
Right.
trying to fight them tooth for tooth. We'll get slaughtered that way,
Right.
Barbara.
Right.
You're a non-advocate, so am I, and we have to be, because we're going to win this war the higher consciousness way.
Exactly.
We're going to win it the pen is mightier than the sword way, through interviews, through books, through articles, through communicating with our friends and family, and just people need to be alert. There's a definite role agenda on this planet, and they're out for us. There is a depopulation agenda to eradicate a certain huge majority of people in many Western countries. Have you ever heard of that website called Deagle.com? It's like Beagle dog with D, CIA front company, and they do projections and estimates. And they have future projections where countries like Ireland and the UK and the US, Canada, we're going to lose 30 to 40% of our population, according to the forecast, in the next few years. They're already forecasting an enormous drop in our population.
That is enormous.
So check it out. Go to deagle.com and look at a country and look at the years, and you'll see that we're supposed to be going down in number. But some countries are unelected. Maybe those countries that don't go along with the Franken jab and all the other mad science that's being thrust upon us. I was on another interview earlier today with the Age of Truth and Lucas Alexander, and he was very interested in the whole AI, how that's now rolling out. And that's a great big unknown, how AI is going to affect the world and perhaps create this prison planet in an artificial technological way. And that's really scary if we get caught in that kind of trap. And we don't really know what we're getting in. This is being rolled out right in front of us without anybody's consent. I don't think I ever voted. Do we want to have an AI overlord starting to facial recognize everybody and give us social credit scores and put us into an algorithm and decide whether or not we're going to get cut off from our bank account or not? I mean, we're going into some uncharted territory here. And I don't mean to be an alarmist, but I am a realist, and I think people should be aware of a potential danger which is upon us. As much as we try to focus on the good side in the coming golden age, there are some things that could really keep us in a backward trajectory. No, I often find it interesting. Everybody says, well, we're evolving, we're getting better. For the most part, you can evolve, you can get better lifetime after lifetime, or even in these bodies. But what about the whole concept of de-evolution? Maybe we're going backwards in some respects. Those who are starting to get it move into the fifth dimensional energies. The others might be left behind. That could be an analogy of prison planet as well. If you can lift your vibration, if you can join this group that wants to transcend, live in a golden age for 1,000 years of peace, then you can do that. It's your choice. You have free will. And you can be a part of this great party down the road. But in time, you have to start to raise your vibrational level and believe that there's a better course than Franken jabs and RFID chips and AI run amok. And that's what we have to be vigilant, be on the lookout from letting that kind of fascism take over the world.
And so what do you think are the best ways to do that? What are some solutions you found for that?
Well, I start my book out with a section on neo-fascism. Fascism. Really, we have to learn who we're up against and how to counter them. If you don't know your enemy, they're going to wipe over you. You're going to be wiped out. It's back to the art of war, Sun Tzu,
Right.
to project that you're weak when you're really strong, project you're strong, you're really weak, and all this thing. I know Trump was really into Sun Tzu and the art of war, and they teach it in military academies, and it's good to know. So you have to know what you're up against. You can't go into a battlefield blind or you lose. So I know these are very dark subjects for some people to really contemplate, but we absolutely have to. And as you can see in that blurb from Michael Sala, that we're on the purpose of a historic suppression of free energy, efforts to create an Orwellian New World Order, the existence of extraterrestrial life, and so much more that has been hidden from us, most especially through the mass media. So we do have controllers in the world. There is deep state. There is a secret government. They have gamed the system to the point where they can control the printing press that makes the money. So you own any system, guess what? You can gobble up and buy just about anything you want in this world. And that's what they're very hungry for, is the control agenda over the human race. And they think, quite frankly, there's way too many of us. And they would not mind culling the herd a bit. And I think that the Deagle CIA front company is projecting is that some of those campaigns are going to be very successful in anti-human depopulation agenda. Then you could also say, well, maybe there's even some malevolent ETs behind this, that they don't want human around. They're working with these human cutouts to be the doers of bad deeds on the other. But the real generals are reptilian ETs, and their colonels and captains are the Rothschilds and the Pay-Sewers. These very wealthy families who have accrued so much wealth that if they released it to all of us, just the Rothschilds and the Pay-Sewers and the Rockefellers, every single human on this planet would be a millionaire.
Yeah.
It would be the end of money. We wouldn't have to work or labor, or certainly die so young of disease. Barbara, I think a lot of this is by design. They just don't want us to live that long. They want us to be sick. They want us to have inflammatory, autoimmune syndrome type diseases and afflictions, which have come about with the Frank jabs. Myself, a victim of autoimmune disorders because I got so many vaccines when I was a little kid, and I won't do it anymore. But I'm still paying the price. And look, they made a lifetime customer out of me, and that's the whole idea. They'll keep you sick to keep coming for more, because isn't it interesting that the people who discover the disease are often the ones to find the cure? How convenient.
Well,
you control it from both ends, and you make a lot of money in between.
right. And the whole vaccine thing, right? We could go down that
Yeah.
rabbit hole for a long time, you know.
Yeah.
You talk in your book about the ruthless population control.
Yeah, I talk about population control in different ways. One of which is through geoengineering, what they're spraying down on us. Controlling the weather. People die from extreme heat. They die from cold. People die from earthquakes, volcanoes, and this is all made. But there is a report that the Air Force came out with about 2 decades ago called Controlling the Weather 2025. I know Deborah Tavares has it on her website, stopthecrime.net. If anybody would like to look at that, I, of course, cite it in Being Esoteric in the geoengineering chapter. And I knew Jerry Smith, who wrote the book on weather warfare, and probably got him killed because he went up to do a episode of conspiracy theory with Jesse Ventura, and he was dead a couple months later from a fast-moving cancer kind of illness. And he felt very sick the next day after doing the filming with Jesse Ventura, and he wouldn't be the only one who became a whistleblower or a researcher who talked about things ahead of their time.
Right.
You know, you could say, Barbara, that all artists are not ahead of their time, or researchers like us. We are our time. We're picking up when it happens. And in a way, the human race has this connection amongst ourselves. I like to give the example that just consider right now in this world, there are still some locations where there are uncontacted tribes of people in the depths of the Amazon rainforest and some upper valleys of Papua New Guinea. They still wear a penis gourd and go hunting for their dinner every night with a blow dart.
Mhm.
And that's how they live, as their ancestors have lived for thousands of years. In my first book in the Esoteric Series, Modern Esoteric, I start with a section called Lifeology. And one of the chapters is called Primitive Wisdom. That's modern esoteric, and that's future esoteric. And one of the examples that I cite is the Andaman Island people, who are just only a couple generations removed from being in the Stone Age. So in the Andaman Islands, yeah, now they wear t-shirts, and a couple of the tuk-tuks and a few inconveniences have made it there. But there's still some of those islands in the Indian Ocean, especially down in Indonesia, that I went and visited. One island called Nias and Sibaru, where the elders still covered in tribal tattoos. And they too just wear loincloths and use a bow and arrow and blow dart to go have their dinner. Well, Andaman Islanders are still pretty similar to that. And when that big tsunami of 2003 hit, Christmas Eve, well, it swept all across the Indian Ocean basin, really making its way to any destination that was in its path. And it made its way up to the Andaman Islands the next day. The earthquake happened the day before, so they didn't feel the earthquake. There was no sound associated with it, but all animals knew something wasn't right. And then the ocean level started to drop to levels they've never seen before. Well, all islanders, all the animals started running for the hills, because when that ocean level went down, it was being sucked out to sea, and then it came rolling back, the tsunami that wiped out thousands of people in dozens of countries, including a bunch of Western backpackers, like could have been myself, just out having a good time on Christmas Eve, went to dinner, sleeping in that morning, and then boom, it hits, and you never even saw or heard coming, and you just die and drown within a minute. And that happened in a couple locations I went to visit in Thailand, especially Koh Phi Phi and Koh Lak. And in Koh Lak, there's a boat that was part of the Navy of Thailand that got washed 3 miles inland. And that's where the tsunami museum exists. But on the Andaman Islands, they completely went unscathed and nobody died, because they have more touch with nature, or they're more in tune with animal consciousness, or they don't watch TV. They wouldn't know. They just knew, run for the hill. And so it's incredible that we think of them as savages or primitive, but not really much so.
Aware. They're so very aware. And with their relationship with the birds, even I was talking about that with a friend of mine the other day. You know, I do talk with the birds in the neighborhood, but a lot of people, we've lost so much of that connection that has to be reunited and brought together. And that's why I love working with First Nations. They haven't lost that, and we need them. They can teach us so much about that, how to have a relationship with our earth, and if you're in tune, you'll have that intuitive knowingness, that connection with that can help us in all of these changes that are coming up. A lot of changes coming up, so it's
yeah. And you mentioned in the first segment about the wisdom keepers, that all cultures have the wisdom keepers, and the shaman and the holy people. And they were the ones who would know these things. They were very much in tune with the natural rhythms, the cycles of the seasons of nature. And they were the ones who basically carried on the wisdom from generation to generation. And there's a lot of that. One great thing about having really the honor of being able to travel as I did, I've been to all 7 continents and seen just about every culture of the world, from some of the people right in the Stone Age to very high-tech Japanese who live in like this high-tech, high-touch culture. I taught English there for 14 months, and then I financed a backpacking trip around the world in the early 1990s. And that's what I based my first book on, called World Stories, a Global Travel Manifesto. And that one is actually still in print. You can still get it through CCC Publishing, or it's on Amazon, or you order. You mentioned Sacred Places series of guidebooks. And that's what got me traveling and collecting a lot of this material that went into 3 books that I wrote, and then a 4th by another author, Karen Tate, who did Sacred Places of Goddess. I did Sacred Places North America, around the world, and Europe. And it was those books that led me into the Esoteric Series, because I had material on some of these locations, and having the experiences I've had traveling around the world, just like knowing this about the island, being out there right as the tsunami hit, and realizing there's a lot of these hidden subjects, and some of them have to do with the monument worlds. For example, the Great Pyramid. So many more questions than we have answers, especially that monument itself and what exists below the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. That's very esoteric knowledge. That is a whole network of chambers and passageways all the way down water level. I was sitting at on a panel at Contact in the Desert next to J.J. Hurtak, and I've done some interviews with him before. I really like him and Desiree, his wife. And the microphone was down the table, so me and JJ had a little time together, and we're sitting there in front of the whole crowd. She's like, "Hey, you want to see something?" I go, "Yeah, sure." And he broke out his book, and he flipped to some pages, and he started telling me about, and this continued after the panel, but he was saying that he was able to go down to the chambers below the Great Pyramid, and there is one level, which is at the river level of the Nile. You can even take a boat through there, and you come into a chamber that's so big you could fit a European Gothic cathedral inside of it. Hurtak was telling me about that, and he says he's had access under there. That's all records. That's where the real artifacts that could change the course of human history, where they exist. I think that's the real story of Egypt, what's below the Giza Plateau. We should maybe go there sometime, Barbara.
I've been there twice, but we should go, and I want to go. For me, it would be Osiris, the tomb there. It's always flooded. Why can't we pump that up and take a look at what's there? Right? You can't even get in there.
Oh yeah, the Osirion.
Yes.
The megalithic.
Yes.
Building.
With the stamp flower of life in there. It's like,
well, we can go there. We should go there.
Yeah. I would love to go back. I miss it. I miss travel. I really miss it. And I haven't traveled as much as you. I've traveled extensively, but I really miss it. So, because when you travel to the spots, there's not only do you have an exchange of energy, right, an exchange of resonance, but also you find out it's such a self-discovery tool, right, of who you are and what you're made of when you travel, because you're uncomfortable and you're not comfortable at all, and then you find yourself extremely out there, and then you can come in. Anyway, it's a great way to learn about yourself and about our planet. It's such a beautiful, diverse planet. Anyway, I'm talking, the esoteric kind of spiritual thing, because that's who I am. So, that's what I bring to the table. And for you to, and
well,
beyond esoteric, which is hidden, right? So why did you name your trilogy?
So this is all the, well, I did. But each title has to be a little different, but all that is hidden is being revealed. And this being third and final in the installation, 480 pages for this one, and modern esoteric and beyond future esoteric, so 400 pages. So it's close to 1,400 pages of research, and I don't repeat my information.
You don't.
So some of the chapters from the first 2 books found a home in this book, which I've been working on for 6 years. Took me to come out with this last book, and in partial credit, lockdown of COVID, I have time on my hand last year. We weren't able to produce the How Weird Street Fair and might not be able to as well this year. So I
Oh,
buckled down and got it done. And glad I did, because it's come out at a very good time and it's being well received. I think people are waking up to this, starting to understand it at a spirit level. So it's not as much of a hard sell anymore to talk about conspiracy research. Have you noticed as well that more and more people are getting it, and they're really hungry for it? They want to hear new perspectives, people that have been talking about this for years, as we have, and joining in the conversation. That's what we want. It's not a, I told you, I was right. It's no, thank you for waking up, and now please join us and help waking up other people, and let's do this together. We're all in this as a human family, right?
Right. And that we have a lot more in common than we realize too. And with the First Nations, where we go together in this planet, and we're here in this moment to make the best version of it, in a way. We have, what are you going to bring to the table? That's what I always tell my students. Okay, you've gotten this knowledge, well, there's a lot more, and then what are you going to bring to the table while you're here? And you're one of those people, Brad. You research it, you talk it, and you walk your talk. It's not just mental either. It's, you can do a lot in your head, but you have to get out of your head and get in your heart and go shake things up sometimes too,
And there you, and I you 6 years doing the Cosmic Oracle. Wow, you are prolific. I thought it was good for me to get this book out in 6 years. And you do your show every week. That's incredible, Barbara. Congratulations.
Thank you. Sometimes I wonder why I'm doing it.
An OG now.
Pardon,
You're
I
an
didn't.
original gangster. You've been going so long.
Yeah, I know. You're like, oh my God. I don't know why, but I just sit in the saddle and we'll see, what comes, what shows up. And I'm so glad you're here today, because I really have followed your work, and in my classes I use your books as I have the Esoteric University. Yeah, and this is one of your books, is one of the ones I tell them to read. The last one, and all 3 of them, because it'll save you a lot of trouble, right? You can get it all in one, and then question all of it, right? Question all of it. That's the fun part of it. Here's all the information. This is what I found.
That is.
And take it and use it, and then question it and add to it.
Absolutely. Yep, that's right. It's an ongoing conversation. There's so much more to the whole that we need many more people to get involved and contribute. And we're getting there. I'm pretty confident in the future. I've talked about some things that are a little bit scary and could be controlling, but I just see more and more people waking up. You doing your classes, radio, it's every little bit, and then you don't know how much those people that you've influenced will then have an impact on people, their network. Right. And so it is this this ball in motion that continues to gain steam and momentum, and that's why I'm confident that we're going to pull through this, and we will see a golden age, hopefully in our lifetimes, in the next few years even.
Yes. And it's a grassroots.
We're smart creatures. Humans are very intelligent. Yeah, that's right.
And that's
the cool thing about it.
Quickly. We change. Our ability to change is phenomenal. That's one of our, I think our best attributes is our ability to change. It's amazing. So that always gives me hope. And so let's talk about your the Weird Fair.
Yeah, it's on hold.
Oh man, are you going to do a line?
It's
you
a
do it
springtime event, so we would be having. Do what again?
Are you going to do it online?
Well, yeah, we will. It's just not the same. This is
Mhm.
the shirt I was wearing today.
What does it say?
It's one of our years.
Read it for me because I can't.
Week here. Yeah, that was our Alice in Wonderland. So a good day at Burning Man. It's just a lot of fun. DJs and dancing in the street. But we were 6 weeks away from ready to go, and we had a team together, and people were working ahead, and we were about to be the first street fair event that would have legal marijuana sales,
Yeah.
outdoor street fair event festival. 6 weeks out, COVID hit, and we got canceled. And
Okay.
now to do it in May is impossible. They're not even doing hearings right now for the permits. So if we can even do in the fall, consider that fortunate. But it's looking like 2021 is going to be another year that just the powers that be let us do it. I think a lot of people are scared now and going to be paranoid. So if we do come back, we're going to have to do it to a lot less people are going to want to come out anymore. And who knows,
That's why-
maybe they'll make us do mandatory masks. I wouldn't go along with, yeah. So that kind of sucks. That's my livelihood that has just been put on hold.
Mhm.
But gave me an opportunity to finish the book and time to do a lot of interviews and support, whereas right now I'd be working 2 jobs full time and still trying to have a life and do some fun things to joy of living and keep going out there and exploring and having fun. And that's what I'm doing right now down in Santa Barbara, checking it out down here for the first time. I've driven through here a bunch of times on the 101 and knew that it was a really cool community, but really getting into the fabric of things and enjoying this town. Just today on the Hot Springs hike, and then yesterday up in the old Mission area, and they got great beaches here. Really cool town. Upscale. You can see it's pretty high cost of living if you want to uproot and live here. But you never see any tagging or vandalism, single rundown building or boarded up nothing, which is all around San Francisco right now. I'm not sure if you know, but they got quality hard with the riots and protests last summer. In LA too, it hasn't really bounced back. So this place and Cruz, pretty resilient, pretty cool people, and not really going along with this whole notion that everybody's got a shelter place all the time. People are still getting out and surfing and going to the beach, and that's certainly what I like to do for a couple hours a day. So get our time on our hands, just use it wisely. And I refuse to live a boring life. I still get in my car and travel and still go over state lines. You can still drive down to Mexico too, which I might do. Canada still quarantine.
Yeah, I went across the United States twice.
Do.
So I mean, it's like, you know.
Did you?
Yes, yeah. With some women in Winnebago. So we had a blast meeting all kinds of people and talking to people about what was happening. Are you going to go to Mexico? Are you going to visit those caves, Brad?
Oh, cool. You know, if you drive there, you got to get special insurance. And some people have told me there's some banditos along the way. I have a couple friend that left after the winter solstice and went down the Baja. So you don't need any kind of special insurance. You can, and there are a couple loose roadblocks that you just show your papers, whatnot, and they got through okay. And really nobody down there. They said everywhere they went, the locals were so glad to see some gringos finally coming back, and we're thanking them and shaking their hands and tell them don't be come back.
Right.
All these communities that were really reliant on tourism, they're hurting really bad right now.
Right.
And nobody's traveling, and nobody's going to restaurants and in their hotels. And so it's a brave new world that we live in. And for me, just keep my spirits up, doing things I like to do. And some of the conferences are going online, like Contacting the Desert. I'll be one of the online speakers, and Human Origins, and there's a couple others that are online. But there is one that's going to be live in Vegas in a couple weeks, and that's the 5D of a speaker at that. And I'm also moderating a couple of panels, including the Super Soldier panel.
Ooh, so it's Randy Kramer.
5devents.com if anybody wants to check it out.
Yeah.
I don't think Randy's coming, but I got Michael Jaco to come down, and James Mink and Penny Hadley are three super soldiers who it's going to be a great panel on Friday night.
I want to go.
I think it's the Westgate scene in Vegas. You should come.
I will.
You can maybe do the Cosmic Cafe. That would be cool.
I would love to do that.
I'll put you in contact interview. You should. It'd be great to see you. Maybe we can do some media or do your radio show down there
Let's
on
do
Friday
it.
night.
I like
Live.
getting interviewed with you.
5D event. I'm sure the producer would love that. Yeah,
Okay.
well, we always have a great time
Yeah, we do.
talking about stuff.
So you're still working and still doing your thing, and we'll see what spirit brings to you next. So are you teaching at UCSC? That was a question I had.
Not teaching, no. I'm just traveling a bit. I mean, it's still ski season. So this time this week, I'll be up in the Sierras, getting 4 days punched on my ski pass, and have laptop will travel. I have work that I need to do at CCC Publish. I'm getting together a mailing list, and we just did our 2021 catalog, so I want to get that mailed out by the summer. And there's web things to do. There's interview requests and just day-to-day things. And if anybody orders a book through CCC Publishing, I have all the books on our website, and if they're written by me, I can sign copies out the door. So that's one advantage to get through CCC Publishing. I'd advise go to your local bookstore, order it through a local bookstore too, and support small businesses. They need
it.
Right, better than those big unnamed box stores named after South American rivers. I know it says that on the screen. There are ways around it.
Well, I just want to thank you for coming on the show, Brad. It's so good to see you. It's been way too long. And thanks for bringing your passion for life. You probably get this from other people, but you remind me of a Hemingway in a lot of ways, that he was adventurous and passionate and bigger than life. And you remind me of him. If I ever met him, you two would get along. And I could see you both
traveler
of the bulls. That would be like perfect.
Or the old man in the sea.
Yes.
I quoted Hemingway in Future Esoteric in the conclusion chapter. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Papa. I've been down to Key West, Florida, and saw where he lived down there. There's still a bar called Sloppy Joe's with his picture on the wall. He used to party there.
I've been there, yeah.
No, that's a compliment.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on and being an amazing person. And come back again with your next book. I'm sure there'll be one. Are you working on the next one? Or are you just taking a breather, like
taking a break and doing interviews and kind of getting through this year? Yeah, a couple other ideas and haven't quite set out yet. I have to set up some meetings with my distributor and talk about upcoming titles as well as other potentially new authors. And I usually give them 3 or 4 selections and they narrow it down to 1 or 2.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
So it'll be this summer. I'm heading to the Midwest, and I'll be meeting up with them and steering the boat for the next 5 years where I want to go with it.
I know, it's good. It's
But
good.
yeah, this won't last. But this is just came out, so this is what I
It's
support.
fresh.
This is what I'm promoting right now.
I love it. Well, I wish you all the best.
Well,
my
thank
friend.
you. I'm glad you got a chance to look at it. And
Yeah.
oh, you too, Barbara. And I hope to see you at 5D in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
That
let's
would
make
be great
that
to hang out
happen.
again. I'll to the Cosmic Cafe and hang out with you and
Yeah.
talk stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can do your show live from 5D.
Let's do it. Let's
Okay,
do it.
well, I'll
I'm back
touch with
in
you
the future.
offline and okay, cool.
All right. And they can reach you.
I'll
at,
get you in touch with the producer offline and
thank you.
yeah, there's CCC Publishing, their contact page. People want to send me a message.
Okay.
I get them through that. It's usually the best way.
Okay.
I'm kind of shying away from the socialist medias with all the censorship. Don't get on there too much, so it's not really reliable to send me a message on Facebook or Twitter anymore. I just don't. Kind of protesting it. So much
Right.
Censorship. So many great people that we know just lose their profile and just be disappeared. So yeah, I do it for support of interviews and publicity. And I had my period of trying to wake them, and I got censored myself. So it's the age we live in. This is what we're dealing with. So I hope this interview doesn't get you in any trouble.
I hope it does. I like trouble.
And a great service. Yeah. You like that bumper sticker that
Yeah.
unruly women rarely make history.
Right. Exactly.
You got to put yourself out there a little bit. That's true.
I do it in kind of I weave it though. You know, I go in for a few jabs and then I just kind of weave it. So, all right. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Take care. Much love to all of you.
Thank you. Bye, Barbara.
Bye, Brad.